got a full house this morning. We're excited about what's going on here in Tulsa, and just a couple things about 1 Million Cups. What we're doing here is, if this is your first time, we've been doing this since October, so we're, what, in month 9 or month 10, Dustin, is that right? Or whoever can do the math quickly like that. Great. And basically what we do is we focus on 2 startups, whether within the community or outside. We've had some outside people, but this morning we've got 2 Tulsa startups. And what they'll do is they'll present for 6 minutes, just kind of give you an overall view of what their company is and what they do. And then we'll have 20 minutes of Q&A. So we'll kind of turn it back to you, kind of a community discussion. But first this morning I wanted to... What's that? Yeah, if you see any open seats, there's some open seats right up here. If you guys want to move up, if you can scoot in, that'd be great. Good. So, and then one last thing I wanted to do this morning is I really wanted to thank Foolish Things Coffee for just supplying the space. They make the coffee every morning for us, so it's just exciting to be here at Foolish Things. I'm going to introduce our first company. We have Alex and Tuno from JobPact, and basically, did I get that right? Tuna, okay. Tuna. And Alex from JobPact, and basically what they do is they seek out professionals and then jobs and basically match them together in their the best thing that fits for their company. So if we could, let's give Tuna and Alex a hand as they come and present this morning.
All right, can you hear me okay? All right, well, good morning, and thank you for having us here at 1 Million Cups. My name is Intuna Ikuri, and this is my co-founder, Alice Golombiewski, and our other co-founder, Sergey Golombiewski, and our company is JobPact. All right, so our team, Sergey, is our resident genius with over 15 years of software development experience. Alex and I are both former recruiters with over 10 years of experience and over 20,000 candidate interviews and over 15,000 resume reviews.
But we've been sober a number of years now, so we're clean.
All right, so our team, we see jobs very important. We see jobs almost as important as getting married. We spend almost as much time at work as we do with our families at home. And so the decision you make when finding a job is very important. In fact, Alex and I have a friend who had a great job, left that job for another opportunity that didn't work out because he wasn't a good fit. Went several months without a job, and it harmed not only him, but that company that had to scramble and replace our friend.
And that doesn't need to happen. That's a tragedy when you leave a job assuming that this next thing is going to be the thing for you, and that could have been avoided. In fact, it's actually worse than what most people think. Harvard Business Review points out that 80% of employee turnover is rooted to a bad hiring decision, which put it into perspective, which means 4 out of the 5 people who leave your company should never have been there in the first place. An even scarier number is that if you find a hiring mistake and you rectify it, you correct that within 6 months, that costs you 2.5 times that person's annual salary. So the average person makes $40,000 a year in the US. That's a $100,000 hiring mistake between the cost of unemployment and going through the full process again, potential litigation, everything. Crazy. There's one company that can predict within an 82% level of accuracy whether or not one of your employees will be at your company a year from now, looking at no other statistic or no other facet, or whether or not they're a fit for your company's culture.
All right. So hiring to date has focused almost exclusively on the experience found within a resume. Resumes have been great at communicating the experience and the background in a candidate's resume, but the problem is that it ignores the character of that job seeker. So more and more companies are coming to find that it's better to find a candidate with the right fit, the right type of fit for their organization, as opposed to the candidate that you just met with the right skills. So JobPact, our goal is to innovate the resume process. And so Alex is going to show you with his very own resume how we plan to innovate the resume process.
And it happens kind of quick, so watch closely here. This is how we import the resume into JobPact.
All right, so JobPact's innovation is to have the resume take a back seat and focus on not only the experience, but the culture of the organization, the character of the candidate, and the compensation between both sides. All right, so JobPact's innovation is that, So essentially, JobPact is like having your own personal recruiter without the cheesy salesmanship. And what Match.com does for jobs for online daters, JobPact does for employers and candidates.
And no matter how much you want to help the job seeker, if you do that, you're doomed. We're not going to be able to help you. That's impossible. Well, we match based on objective and authentic criteria, exactly like headhunters and staffing companies don't and can't. The way it works is you jump onto JobPact.com and you sign up for a free profile. We have a free profile for an employer and a free profile for a job seeker. And you take what we call discovery assessment. This is an assessment that goes into and just helps us learn more about you as an individual or learn about you as an organization and then what you're looking for in that counterpart. When that mutually aligns between job seeker and employer, we call that a match. And you go onto your dashboard and you can see your top matches. And then when you're interested in one, you would hit interested. When they respond in kind, we exchange contact information. You go offline and you schedule an interview, knowing more about the person this way than you would have with a plain resume and application process that currently exists.
All right, so we officially launched our beta website version on Memorial Day, and we're very excited about the possibility of innovating the resume process. And so now we're ready to take questions, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome, 5 minutes. Real quick, we've got a few open seats here and here if you guys want to grab a seat. Now this kind of opens up to our Q&A. And if you have a question, just raise your hand, get my attention. Dustin's going to be on the other side over here. Raise your hand, Dustin, so everyone sees you. But go ahead and get our attention, and then we'll be running the Q&A. So let's go ahead and open it up for questions right here.
So how are you compensated? So yes, we have a free account for the employer, but there are also paid account levels. The job seeker is completely free. You don't pay anything at all if you're looking for work. But like the model for Monster.com, we bring the job seekers in, and the employers have the free models. Basically, you get 2 matches a month, and then you pay for additional matches every single month. It's a subscription model.
So just to be clear, is it like an algorithm that does the matching, or is it like humans who are, like you guys, are you matching profiles together?
Actually, great question. No, we have an algorithm. Our resident development genius is building them together that matches based on all the different pieces, compensation, character, culture, and experience.
So where is it going to be marketed to? How are you going to market to employers, and then also who are you marketing to find job seekers? Are you linking up with other, online agencies and basically buying their leads, or how does that work? Where do the leads come from?
We want to set up, and we haven't yet, viral opportunities to actually share the profile over, have like a link or a badge for your LinkedIn or for your resume from the job seeker's perspective. We hope that by doing the same thing that Myers-Briggs does, where it's interesting to find out what kind of personality you have, what your strengths are, what more an environment is more conducive for you, we hope to do the same thing here as for the employer side. We want to focus on the employers that recognize that character is more important than just finding the right type of background they're looking for, and we're experimenting with different ways to approach that. Right now, we're trying any number of different things, doing the lean startup method where we're trying everything to see what works.
Can you talk about your definition of what a cultural fit would be? And follow-up question to that would be, how are you going to avoid organizations ending up with people who all think on the same track and the same line, which would deter from innovation happening?
Okay, so your question was define what a good culture fit would be. So for example, we found in our research that a lot of people left jobs because they don't align with their team. It's not because of the skill, it's because of the actual cultural fit of that organization. So in a culture, so if I'm naturally an introvert and I prefer to do projects maybe on my own, have my own alone time space, but yet the team I'm on is fast-paced and very active in communication and regards me, I might be overwhelmed, and that will lead to me actually leaving, even though I have the skill. And that's just an example of what we've seen where people have left. That's the example of the fit.
The part two to that, where how do you keep the organizations from becoming homogenous, is that's currently happening now with interview processes. They have this thing where you interview somebody, and the interviewer is like, man, I don't know what it is about that guy, but I like it. Well, what it is that you like is that they're like you, and you end up hiring people just like that. What this allows you to do is there's a process in place, QuickTrip has one, that they've standardized the whole interview process to prevent that bias from happening. This allows you in a cold state to look and say, hey, our team is missing somebody that's very analytical, or very creative, or very hard charging and has huge leadership. This allows you to basically put in that request that that's the type of person you're looking for and hire, instead of coming to the interview and saying, hey, you're like me, let's join up.
As a follow-up kind of to your comment, sometimes employers don't often understand exactly what they're missing. So do you have relationships with consultants that may identify that problem for the employer and then connect them to JobPact to find that missing piece of the team?
Okay. So one of our strategies is to form strategic partnerships with certain consultants. So for myself, I've reached out to, there's a professor at OU that we're working with that has research in that particular area. Also in the Oklahoma City area, we've spoken with a gentleman named Dr. Mailer, who has a study where he talks about culture over, character over competence. And so we plan to form strategic partnerships with them to help us in that alignment that you're talking about.
A couple minutes ago, you mentioned that the way you get compensated is various like classes of accounts. Can you describe basically what those are, the different ones from the both employer view and the employer?
Sure. So again, we don't charge any job seeker at all. So if you're looking for a job, you sign up over here. You don't use your resume, you fill it out, and then you'll eventually get matches, people that align with you. From the employer perspective, every single one of you in this room who has a startup, who's even passively looking or actively looking, sign up for an account, fill out a discovery assessment, and to be free, you get 2 matches a month, basically, where if you see your dashboard, you won't actually see the pictures on there yet, but you can see candidate A, B, C, they align 89%, they align 75%, and when you pick them interested, it costs you a match credit when they respond back with this exchange of information. So our free account is 2 matches with a sign-up bonus of 10, but we have a 10 match a month, 25 match a month, 50 match a month, depending on how many people you want to hire or how selective you want to be.
Point well taken that culture is important. You did rip up your resume though earlier. How, and I know you talked about incorporating experience into that. Clearly you have to make some allowance that these people actually have skills. So how do you do that?
All right, so great question. That's actually something we debated at first. We had a very heated debate at the beginning. So we believe that skills are objective. There is no question. You either have those skills or you don't. You either have those skills or you don't. It's the culture part that's difficult to align, to identify and align. So in our system, we'll have it to where you'll be able to put your top skills, and the employer will also be able to put the top skills that they need and align there. And that's why in that diagram we had those 4 components. So skills is the objective thing that we either have or you don't have. And so with our algorithm, working with Sergi, that's where we'll be able to align it to.
To be even more blunt, this is a big experiment for us because we're doing something crazy. We're getting rid of the resume. So we're doing the lean startup model. Eric Reese's one of our superheroes. And we're going to see how close we need to get to the resume and pivot towards that. But truth be told, I've been hired a lot without a resume picture. It's not necessary for it, right? I've been asked for my resume after I've got the job as a check off the box for it. So we're seeing, if I just look for my top 3 jobs as a job seeker, and they align with one of the jobs that's being offered by Quick, let's say, then we add that to the weight of the algorithm that is a match for the job. But we'll still have a weighting system based on, we're not going to hire a bricklayer to be our developer.
2-part question. What does your target consumer look like when you're looking for companies that you work with? And with that, it seems like a lot of companies, culture is a big mix in what you're doing, yet they don't know what their culture is. How are you going to overcome that?
Good question. Okay, so our target company that we're looking for, we're not closing into anything, but if everybody's your customer, no one's your customer. So we are focusing on basic startups, small businesses, for twofold. One, we have a free account level that Monster doesn't do, so it allows somebody that, with no risk, not even putting in your credit card information, for you to sign up and just see the matches coming in. And then 2, usually at the small startup, culture is the most important, because you're talking about if you bring somebody to your team that really rubs against everybody else, you're going to have a bad day in a series of things. So the way we do, what was the second part of that? Oh, so we're introducing something we call sneaky analytics. We're not very sneaky now. It's pretty explicit, where I say I'm creative, or I say our culture is very philanthropic or altruistic. But we want to start bringing in pieces to where we ask the questions in a way that you can't game. For instance, we can ask by a series of pictures saying, what does your culture today look like? And you have a picture of some dude in a big suit pointing up like this, or you have people in flip-flops and shorts standing around outside of the picnic. And by clicking on the picture, you're actually subtly telling us a lot more than you would with a single question. And it's harder to game because they can't quite understand exactly what they're answering.
Earlier you talked about the algorithm, and I was wondering if you're creating a new algorithm and the other one was accurate, why not license that and go to market quicker? Or are you thinking that your algorithm is going to be more precise, and how are you going to prove that out?
So, we don't have a base to start with for the algorithm. We're building from the ground up, and we are experimenting with that every single time we do match to see how close we're actually aligned with that. But yeah, we understand that our algorithm can be used for a lot of different things across different industries. We plan on doing a hackathon. We plan on playing with it enough to where you can use it for different things. But we're building it up from the very beginning. It'll be a quality over running a lot of making mistakes and making tweaks to it.
Can you just describe the startup process for you? Because I think this is really awesome, and sending some people your way, I've wondered, how are you already, you seem to be a pretty new startup, but how are you already connected with so many employers and job seekers, and then just kind of describe what brought you to that.
So if I'm understanding correctly, just how we got here and then how we kind of plan to move forward, is that a good way to? Okay, so now after we've gotten to the beta version, we, as being former recruiters, we've outlined strategic partnerships throughout both, I'm in Oklahoma City, and we also have a presence here in Tulsa, with not only vocational schools, but those small companies that we plan to go to. Part of that is also being connected with our former HR groups and networks that we had. So it's very cool that we get to use that experience that we had from 5-10 years ago and retrofit that for what we're doing now.
We actually don't have a lot of employers and candidates out there. It's kind of what you bring first, the employer for the job seeker to find, or the job seeker for the employer to find. So literally we're trying to incentivize the no risk, put your credit card information in. Worst case is you spend 5 minutes filling it out, and then best case is you actually get a match that's perfect for your environment for it. So it should be not easy. It's never easy as easy as you think, but we're trying to do that and beat up on the vocational schools, beating up through Craigslist and all these super guerrilla tactics. Oh, and yeah, we're working with Google Analytics and Arrow, help a reporter out, trying to get publications and blogs and get it out there. We think it's interesting enough to say for the resume, which is one of our taglines, that it will at least get us out there and people talking about it.
couple minutes, so I hope you haven't already covered this. But as an employer, if a company is looking to hire, and in the past they've they've defaulted to resumes and like what's your skill set, we're trying to eliminate that and highlight the character. Is there a way online, if I go on and I post that I'm looking to fill a certain position, is there help for me to know how to word what I'm looking for? Instead of doing a skill set, how do I, in words, describe the character or the type of culture that I'm trying to create in my business as the employer? Is that available right now?
Alright, so I think Alex had addressed that when he talked about the sneaky analytics. That's part of what we call facets, or the questions that we plan to introduce to help. Because we know, as former recruiters, we used to be called headhunters, but you come in to help an organization and you start going through this discovery process and asking questions. What is your culture? A lot of organizations did not know. So we were given a series of questions to be able to pull that out and draw that out. And so in our sneaky analytics with the algorithm, as we start asking you questions, the algorithm will recognize what you are saying and see if there's a trend or a pattern to know what question to ask you next. Really removing the human element and replacing that with JobPact to help you discover what you're looking for.
Just a quick note, the average person is not very introspective, so the fact that dating sites not only exist but are thriving, it does a pretty good job of finding out who you are as a person, and then a decent job in finding out what you're actually looking for matching. And that's a crazy, complicated process of matching two completely disparate individual personalities. And it's going to be a similar kind of discovery process.
So looking like 1 year, 5 years down the road, as this thing were to like pick up steam and there's a bunch of users, 1 million users, 10 million users, what would be a policy of like integrity? Because it is so easy to make an account, and from an employer standpoint, if you're paying money to make matches and there's a possibility of like phony accounts or just people blatantly lying, how do you ensure kind of integrity in what people are saying that their skill set is and stuff like that?
So a couple of things. One, everything you can, let's compare it to the current system where you lie in your resume. That happens every single day. So the system's not a great system now. The same thing happens here, but in the analytics part of it, we're trying to make it difficult to game the system, target a particular employer. Because at no point do we currently have a way to search out Google or QuickJob, target them. So unless you actually know not just the organizational culture, but that team culture, it's hard to game or target towards that. And two, currently we're setting up connections with Facebook, with Google, with LinkedIn, where instead of just an arbitrary account that a robot can do, you're actually linking it with the current social network. We'll never spam, we won't do any of that, but we'll pull in some of that information and link it to a live person. I think we'll handle that case by, what the question was is if someone's upset, the employer, for paying something and then not getting the outcome they desire, I think it's going to be a case-by-case basis. But think about, again, the current system. There's no guarantees from Monster. Monster does not guarantee you're going to find the right kind of resume, the right kind of people. What we're doing is we're actually just introducing a pre-screening process that's currently unavailable across anybody else. Yeah, even recruiters don't guarantee anything. I've been like 6 months of contract to hire for a typical recruiter is a 20 to 30% direct placement fee charge. They don't have any given. So you can walk away in 6 months, pay the recruiter $20,000, and now you're out of counting. So
I like the new concept, and I wondered how you were working your marketing to get across that match.com for job seekers, something like that. I noticed your catchphrase in there for getting matched up to the right thing. I thought that would be a great way to differentiate yourself, to really promote the new concept and technique that you're doing. In your name too, JobPact, I just didn't really pick that up. I wondered if you might have a tagline or something to go with that to really pick up the marketing approach or the different way you take it. And also, how are you funding your business? Where do you stand with that? Is it regional or are you national with who you're drawing in, or just the marketing and the funding?
So as far as region, we're not limiting that right now. just like he said, our philosophy with our approach to this is the air grease lean startup model. What was the other question? Oh, and then funding. Yeah, we are bootstrapping it. But we're very fortunate in that we have the business background, about 10 years of that business background to understand both sides of it as recruiters and employers. And then we're very fortunate to have Sergi with his over 15 years of development experience. I really haven't bragged on him enough because he's able to do the job of 4 or 5 other people. So it's very fortunate for us because we're able to bootstrap it and just at least get the product and show that we're able to make those matches happen and show our intent and improve and do what's called iterate, make those changes as we encounter the market.
And then also the general concept behind it is we want to prove out that this will work, make money, see money coming in, because then when we do growth funding, it's from a different standpoint of actually proving it out. We have a system that's working for users too. We're open to funding right now with Bootstrap. We're working 80 hours, so between a full-time job and this.
All right, I have the last 2 questions because I have the microphone. So the first question is, what do you think is your biggest hurdle going forward in the next 12 to 18 months? What is that thing that kind of scares you of how are we going to do this? Be honest.
All right. So, and as a startup, and I don't know how many are in this room, but you constantly are trying to figure out how to get off of that runway. So you're on the runway and then take off and fly. And so the worry is that, so we're working full-time jobs, bootstrapping this ourselves. We feel that the idea is great. We've had video conferences with people across the country who said, hey, that is a great idea. So we know it's a great idea, but will we run out of steam, energy, and morale before we see that idea take off and actually fly and start making money? Will we all burn out and kill ourselves before that actually happens? And so, yeah. So that's the number one fear, is will you run out of steam before the idea actually gets off the ground?
Awesome. Well, that's a great, candid response. I appreciate that. I think that's valuable. And then the last question that we ask all of our presenters are, what can we as a community of entrepreneurs and just the community of Tulsa, what can we do to help you, which is, I guess, the next slide.
So yeah, we're not shy. We have a lot of things, and everybody can help over here. So we want every one of you guys to sign up for an account, whether you're looking for a job or whether you're looking for somebody to actually get hired. Again, no credit card number, nothing. You go on, you sign up, you fill that out, you tell us how terrible the process was, give us the feedback, and worst case is you actually get a match. 2, we're actually starting the publicity cycle with bloggers and other news agencies. We're starting really late in the game, and it's a recognition. Hindsight's 2020, we should have started that a long time ago, but we're just now starting. So if you know of contacts that would be interested in writing about us, interviewing us, or just how to get out there, we want to talk to you. I will buy you coffee, cookies, or beer, whatever you want. And then friends and family, of course, everybody over here is related to people who are looking for jobs, who hate their current job. So we'll hand out cards like they're candy and hand them out, and then hurt our feelings. Feedback is the most important part. You cannot hurt our feelings enough. If the process of signing up is tough, is it stupid from one screen to the other stuff? If the question doesn't make sense, we want to hear from you. And the Drive 15 brought you $2. We're not going to do that, but we'll thank you every single time you give us really great feedback. And then lastly, like we mentioned earlier, we are to the point where we're wanting to court angel investors and VCs at this point, because we feel like we've got an actual product now. It's full cycle, and we're starting to get people to sign up, and we at least want to start having those conversations. And also, yeah, a special shout out to the Forge. We've been nomads for this entire time until we discovered Jessica at 1 Million Cups here, and they've been integral in us being able to get over there, brainstorm, do whiteboards. So special thanks to Jessica and the Forge.
Awesome. Let's give it up for JobPact. All right. So, great company, great idea. Really excited to see where they go with that. So, awesome turnout today. My early count is I think we have just over 100 people here today. So, thanks to everybody for showing up. We have, looks like 4 seats up here. There's some empty seats here and there. So, don't be shy. Come on, walk up. I'm just going to be talking about announcements. So, if you want to hear more about awesome companies that are presenting at 1 Million Cups, we're here every single week from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. There's 2 companies every week. You can sign up, send an email to Tulsa at 1millioncups.com. with the subject line newsletter, and we'll add you to our newsletter. Something great that's happening in the city, Cultivate 918. It's just a movement that's trying to take all these silos, all these different awesome entrepreneurial things that are happening, things like the Forge, things like 1 Billion Cups, and putting them together and having people talk. So if you're interested in helping, participating with that, check out Cultivate 918. The next meeting is a week from today. Also next week, Women 2.0 conference. Just use it there. For anyone working in business, if you're interested in just the role that we all play, especially with, I think JobPact talked about culture and about building companies that are going to be sustaining. This is going to be a great conference discussion for that. Along the same lines, Sex and XX. So a very attention-grabbing name. June 26th, they're going to have a networking and discussion group, so check that out as well. So apply to present at 1 Million Cups. We're a load of fun. It's an exciting time. So if you know companies, if you have a company, definitely shoot us an email. You can request to present online. That helps us kind of understand your company, and we'll get you scheduled. So we're booked all the way into July and almost to the end of July, so there's a really great summer lineup coming, so we're super excited about it. So our second presenter, very excited about, we're having the exclusive first public viewing of Whiteboard. It's an exciting, really exciting product. I'm excited. I'm going to let them describe it because I don't even know much about it because it's pretty stealth. So here comes the Whiteboard team.
Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming this morning. We had a great crowd here. There's a lot of familiar faces that I noticed, but for the new ones that don't know who we are, my name is Kayvon Alomi, and this is my business partner and co-founder, Ryan Gillette. And as Dustin was saying, we're really excited to share with you a product that we've been working on over the past few months. But to get us started, let's just briefly talk about who we are and what our mission is. So a few years back when Ryan and I met, we quickly realized we shared the same passion. And that passion being that we want to reinvent the technologies that we all use in the workspace day in and day out. So ever since then, we hit the ground running and starting on the focus on what we like to say is the foundation of everybody's day. So every morning that we wake up, we set out to accomplish tasks, to complete to-dos, right? So what we're presenting here today is a task and project management application. And I know there's a few of you out there are probably saying, there's dozens of these products out there, isn't there? And are these guys a little crazy? No, we're not crazy, and there is a bunch of these products out there, but we're going to tell you why we're not crazy here today. So, over the past few months, we really conducted a serious due diligence and discovery session of not only what our itches are that we wanted to scratch, but we wanted to make sure that everyone else shared the same problems, which we're just going to briefly talk about 3 here today. And the first one I'm going to cover is redundancy. And what do I mean by redundancy is the makeup of our day consists of 2 components. One is work, and the other is home, so your personal and professional lives. At work, we're using the task and project management application to collaborate with clients and colleagues in the workspace and address those needs. And at home, we're using a to-do app or even a to-do list to address the needs of work. I myself, I'm victim of this. Why are we using 2 applications with the same interface to meet the same problem? It just doesn't make sense. Which leads me into the next point of the conversation. User experience and user interface, as well as the mobility of the solutions that are out there today. Over the past few years, we've really seen an evolution of mobile technologies. Well, in our space, the players that are leading the way, they were built and designed for desktops. So the monitors on your desktop or the screen on your laptop, pre-evolution of the mobile technology such as Android and iPhone devices. So what they've gone and done is they've taken this cluttered UI user interface that's designed for a desktop, and they tried cramming it into a mobile device. What ends up happening is they have a mobile solution that's basically a crippled version of the desktop application. And it's not feature-rich as what you can do on the app, on their desktop. It doesn't meet our needs today, what we're expecting with our lives on the go. And lastly, I'm just going to discuss the noise. Not just the noise of the user interface and the clutteredness, but the noise in terms of the amount of irrelevant information that you're presented with when you log in every morning. And what I mean by that is the information that's just not relevant to you. So you have to go and dig through all the to-dos and tasks just to get what matters most to you. And now you're left with not only what needs to be accomplished today, or a week from now, but 3 months from now, 6 months from now, if you're working on a project. I don't want to see the big picture. I want to see what matters most to me today. And if you're anything like me, when I see this big picture, I freeze up. I get overwhelmed, and an application that's supposed to make my day more efficient and effective ends up hurting me more than helping me. And on that note, I'm going to hand off to Ryan and let him finish out what we learned in our discovery phase.
So in looking at the current landscape, we began to form these observations, and some of these are going to sound a little obvious, but they're things that impact productivity in the workplace. So the first thing is that tasks that are not assigned to people or don't have a due date set typically don't get done. And another thing we noticed is that distractions in the workplace can be cut way down if people on your team simply know what it is that you're working on. And finally, we didn't want to reward negative behavior like a lot of the apps on the market do. What I mean by negative behavior is, for example, apps, whenever you create a to-do in a lot of these products that are on the market today, it actually looks cleaner when you leave off information. So it rewards you to leave off information and not put things like assignee and due date. And so after a lot of research and design iterations, we came up with a product that we think it's going to change the way people work, and we call it Whiteboard. Whiteboard, let's talk about a few main highlights of Whiteboard. The first being the user interface and experience. We just wanted an incredibly simple and clean app to use. If our app is going to help people clear the clutter in their day, then it had better not be cluttered itself. And so another thing that was important in terms of user interface is continuity. You want the same experience across mobile and tablet and desktop. And in order to do that, we designed for mobile first, meaning that we started designing on the smallest screen possible, which forced us to focus on the information that truly mattered and make an interface that wasn't cluttered. Then by contrast, when we scaled up on a desktop paradigm, our interface breathes and it has a lot of room and more room for advanced features that you'd expect on a desktop version. Another thing is we didn't want negative behaviors. We didn't want to reinforce these. And so what we do is we don't require assignee and due date on tasks, but what we do is we subtly nag the user so that the interface just doesn't look quite right until you fill in that information. And then the other thing that was hugely important is, as Kayvon alluded to earlier, we have these silos, people using two apps, one for personal and one for work. We wanted to bridge the gap between those. And so Whiteboard, and we think we've done that with something we call workspaces. And with these workspaces, you can have personal workspaces and team workspaces. Personal being all the items that only you can see, your own day and your own agenda. But then the team workspaces. For example, if you're a small creative firm and you have client projects, each workspace could constitute a different client project. If you are a mid-sized company, you could have different departments such as marketing or development, and those form the basis of different workspaces. But at the cornerstone of it all is the me view. It's what pulls everything together for you from a global standpoint. These are all the tasks across all the workspaces that you're part of that are assigned to you. And so what it does is essentially puts all of your tasks in one place, and we have later, today, and done. And so what it allows you to do for the today view is have a punch list of items that get done. But more importantly, it also tells others on your team what you're currently working on. And if you can't get to something, you can simply swipe and push it off to later. And of course, Whiteboard has all the core features you'd expect out of any project and task management application.
Since we're short for time, as you guys can see, we're really eager and excited to get the Whiteboard in your hands. This is no better place to present and debut our product than for our local community. And not only that, we want to extend the invitation, have you guys be the first ones to get Whiteboard in your hands. So if you go to our website, whiteboard.co, remember it's .co, not .com. We are a bootstrap startup, so we can afford the end. So go in, you can enter your email address, and you'll be one of the first ones to get Whiteboard in your hands. We release it first. With that being said, we'll open up Q&A.
All right, once again, got some Q&A. If you could get my attention, and we'll hand the mic.
Okay, so there are a lot of reminder apps and the personal assistants on, say, Android, Windows, and Apple phones have contact-based reminders. If somebody calls you, they can tell you, hey, remind them to do this, or tell them that they owe you money, or that they've got a project due. Have you looked at tying into some of those existing reminder apps and the personal assistant productivity things that exist?
Great question. So integrations are in the roadmap, but we are a bootstrap, self-funded startup, and what we wanted to emphasize and make sure we do is the features that we do offer, we want to make sure we do better than anybody else. So rather than trying to be all to all, we're really focusing on the core and what I like to call the hot dog part. So these hot dog carts, right, they have all the bells and whistles and shiny chrome and stuff and umbrella, but if the hot dog's not good, it doesn't matter what bells and whistles you have. So we're really focused on making sure we deliver a solid product. But soon, yes.
So you may have started answering this question, but sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
I'm the question. I absolutely love to-do lists. I have like almost all of them that ever existed on my phone, and I use an actual whiteboard for my to-do list as well. So this is awesome. But I would like, I'm sure you've heard of Asana, and that's the one I use the most frequently. Could you describe, and it sounds very similar, could you describe specifically how you are better than those that are on the market? Is it the me profile, or just explain that a little bit better?
So there's a mix of things. One of the first things you'll notice is just the simplicity of the application. We really focus on what matters most, do what matters to you as a user. So just the core components. A lot of these bigger applications, Asana, Podio, and whatnot, they're really feature rich, where 20% of the features they offer don't get used. So we're really focused on simplicity, and not only that, just focus on you as the user. So what's most important to you? No, you can holler. I can hear you.
Okay. What is the plan for reaching a critical mass of users, and how many users do you feel like you need to reach that critical mass? And then also, what's the revenue model for you guys?
Great question. So in terms of the technology adoption lifecycle, we're really going after the innovators and early adopters in the space. So going out and marketing to events like this. We're kicking off a private beta session, which we had our first company sign up, and then we're getting the product in their hands. That's Apple, so the team over at Apple has started chaining on it this past week. But in terms of critical mass, given that we're self-funded and bootstrapped, we don't have this overhanging overhead in this burn rate, so it's really low. Right now the team consists of Ryan and I, as well as another engineer and a designer. But in terms of getting this thing to be self-sufficient, it all depends upon what kind of overhead we bring. I mean, we don't have an office. I mean, we don't have full-time salaried employees, so it's real minimal right now. But in terms of the revenue model, so it's going to be free for personal use. So as long as you're not collaborating with anybody, you can use it free until you're blue in the face, right? All the workspaces, all the tasks, all the to-dos. But the second you transition into a team, you start collaborating with your peers, clients, and colleagues, that's when we start monetizing it. We're still working out the kinks on that and what fits best for you guys and making a win-win situation for both of us.
Well, I just want to say, because I do a lot of extracurricular tasks outside of my main job, so to be able to communicate and work with somebody in an organization that I've volunteered with, as well as my home and my work, to all have it in one place would be amazing. I'm curious as to how it works on the desktop. Is it inside of an internet browser, or is it an application on your computer? Because right now we use Basecamp and just nobody ever opens it up to actually use it. And also our boss prefers paper, so is there a way to easily print the tasks and stuff for her?
Yeah, so to start with, we're launching this on iPhone. Yeah. One thing you're going to notice when you first use iPhone, the web app for Whiteboard, is that it's really fast. It's extremely fast. And at the cornerstone of all that is some really groundbreaking technology that we have, so it will feel like a desktop app. And then, of course, as we move on, we're going to transition. We're going to have platform saturation, so get on all the major platforms.
To further elaborate on that, the user interface on our mobile, our iPhone, is literally almost identical from a desktop. So you're not having to learn two different interfaces with the same application. Sorry.
Is there any way you can show us any part of the app right now?
Demo?
Demo it.
Okay. We can show a demo. Let's get this up. Time out. You can ask a question while this is popping up.
these project management software, how are you going to differentiate yourself and stand out of the crowd? Because that's going to be a really tough thing where they're going to look up and look at the top 10 project management or tasks app. How are you going to stand out from all that?
So we alluded to a few key points. One being our user interface. Some of these bigger players like Asana and Podio, they don't have a consistency and continuity between their devices and their platforms. And not only that is our business model. One of the things we left out just due to time is just we're going to have really straightforward and honest pricing, right? We want to take the guessing of what it's going to cost. For example, Basecamp, they charge it based upon projects. Well, what if one month I have 20 projects and then next month I have 40, but that doesn't work, and then other people have tiered plans and levels based on number of teams, number of users, so on and so forth. So those are two of the biggest ones that are really going to differentiate us. But most importantly is we really put the emphasis and focus on the user. Okay, so here's the app. I don't know if you guys in the back can see it that well, but this screen that you're viewing here is what I like to call the global view. So from the global view, you have the ability to navigate to anything that you're associated with Whiteboard. At the very top, you see that me view that Ryan alluded to, where it pulls in all the to-dos and consolidates everything that's assigned to you in one view, which we'll get to in a minute. Then you have an activity view, which is basically just a history and audit trail of everything that's taken place. But remember, this is at a global level. Then right below that, you'll see your personal workspaces. So these are just relevant to me. No one has access to these. This is purely my personal information. And then below that are your teams. You can see there's also workspaces that live within these teams. So let's go ahead and just drill into a workspace. This is Whiteboard's workspace. Next is you'll see this is the workspaces navigation. You notice the two views at the top, the main activity. Now this is only relevant to the workspace. So now you're not pulling in and consolidating across all your workspaces, but just what's associated with this workspace. Then you'll see to-dos. This is where all the to-dos live in this workspace. Files and discussions. This is something that's really cool that we're doing. So files and discussions, say we're on the go and you get a message where you're needing to pull the file. Instead of having to drill into a to-do and the to-do list, the to-do and the details, you can quickly navigate the files, and this is a consolidation of all the to-dos that are attached. All the to-dos, all the files that are attached to the to-dos in your workspace. Same with discussions. If you need to quickly navigate to a to-do and comment back on a thread, you can just click discussions and quickly access that to-do. But let's just click to-dos here. So you can see there's some great people that actually helped us with a video that we'll show you guys. But at the very top, you'll notice the three layers. It's kind of our logo, just tilted 90 degrees. That's a to-do list. So 5 to-dos actually live within this list. And underneath it, there's what we like to call free-floating to-dos. So these to-dos aren't associated with the to-do list. We didn't want to have to force the user to have a to-do live in a to-do list. These are related to the workspace, but they don't live within a to-do. You'll notice their pictures, so their avatars, those are the assignees, right? And all the relevant information next to their avatar, the to-do title, the name, when it's due, so on and so forth. But you might notice something different on the top 2 to-dos. You see that blue dot? As Ryan was saying in the me view, if a user goes and pushes their to-do that they want to work on it today, that blue dot appears. So if I'm a team leader or project manager, I can quickly access the to-dos and see what's being worked on today, rather than interrupting you and be like, hey, Ryan, what are you working on today? It's just making it more efficient in the workplace. But most importantly is how we get those to-dos to your today view is our swiping gestures. It's really beautifully designed gestures. So for example, I can swipe a to-do done, swipe it off. Notice no check boxes. Those are the thing in the 90s. Or I can push it off and delete it. So say I want to work on a to-do today. I can swipe it off to today, and now it's going to go to my today view in my today area in my me view. Or say I can't get to it till later. Let's push it off till later. Now you're presented with these 7 options of when it'll populate back in your today view. So it's kind of autonomous, right? So you can kind of set it and forget it in essence. The top 6 are automated, so I can get to it in 4 hours. I can get to it tonight, tomorrow, this weekend, next week's a day. But say you're just going to get to it eventually. You don't want it to automatically populate back in your today view. You can hit eventually. This works great for like grocery items and stuff. So you have a list, but you don't want it popping up in your today view because that just doesn't make sense. So let's just push this off this weekend. Let's drill into 2. Let's go back to the final presentation. One of the things you'll notice is the header is really congruent with the information that's presented in the cell in the previous screen. You have who it's assigned to, the title, as well as the due date. But notice those 3 little avatars below there. Those are what we like to call subscribers. So say I'm not assigned to a to-do, but I want to be updated and notified of what's going on in this task, kind of like a stakeholder of the to-do. By this flag option here, I can flag to get notifications on that to-do, which is great. And this is just a typical discussion thread where we can communicate. Oops, sorry. I have iOS 8, so I'm trying to mess with it here. So let's get out of that. But then what's really cool that we didn't get into detail with is the attachments. So this is something that a lot of apps in our space aren't leveraging. This is like the Swiss Army knife of our lives, right? You can do anything and everything with this device. Oops. My bad. But we take full advantage of the device. So say you want to attach a photo. You can attach a photo not only from your camera roll, but also directly from your device. You can link your Dropbox account and attach any kind of file. But what's really great is the ability to share locations. So you have the ability to attach and share your current location and even a predetermined location. So say I'm an event coordinator or a wedding planner or a photographer, and I'm going out and scouting for locations and shoots. I can snap a photo and share the location with the individual. Let's get out of this one. And then you have the ability to loop people in, to get them notified, which is simple. But lastly, I want to talk about the medium. So here's the medium. So like Ryan said, these are the to-dos you're wanting to get done today. So it's easy, you're easy to clear your today list. And then the later is just all the other to-dos that are assigned to you that you're going to get to later.
Chicken. From a standpoint of teams and working on projects, say we have a big project that we're working on and different people on the team are working on the project, is there a way of tracking time, tracking hours on a particular project? And also, is there a way of building that into some kind of invoicing system?
Yeah, great question. Kind of alluding to what she asked is there's integrations of third-party applications, and just we're really focused on the core and the foundation of the app, and we're eventually going to iterate and add those features and functionalities on the road.
So looks great. A lot of times I want to access my data not only from my phone but from the web and from my iPad and across disparate devices. What's your plan for syncing across different access points?
So we of course have a great cloud infrastructure. That's kind of what I alluded to. Sorry, this was asking a question. Okay, sorry, I was open. So we have a really great cloud platform and a very unique syncing solution that's extremely fast. It's unlike anything you've ever seen before in web products, especially. And you'll notice it the first time you use the web. So everything will get synced instantly across platforms.
You said that you're focusing on presenting the user with what's most important. How do you know what's most important to me?
Yeah, great question. What's really most important is just the simplicity. So we really did an in-depth discovery session, not only what we want and our desires, but others. And on top of that, the whole medium, the premise of being able to swipe what I want to work on today, that allows you as the user to designate what matters most to you.
I got a quick question. You brought up a mention of video. Do you have like a showing you guys using it? What's it about? Can we see it real quick?
Yeah, so this is going to be the first time we share this video publicly with anybody. We work with a great firm in town called Signal Factory, and they're actually in the back of the room. They got to deal with us for quite some time in nailing down this video, and we want to debut it here first for you guys. You have to let us know what you guys think. really wanted to share this first with our local community. What you saw here won't be available nationally until a week from today when we do our national press, but we really wanted to get it in front of you guys as our local community, so we're glad you guys saw it.
Great video. One last question as we close. I know we didn't get to a lot of questions, but you guys are hanging out afterwards.
Yeah,
Your JobPact guys are hanging out as well. What can we as a community do for you guys?
So great question. Go to our website. It's not up there anymore. Go to our website, whiteboard.co, and sign up for our limited freebies. We'd love to get Whiteboard in your hands, get your feedback, just get your response to what you guys think. Follow us on Twitter and just share it. Let's get people to see it. I want the Tulsa community to really embrace it. Just love to hear what you guys think.
Awesome. Well, let's give Whiteboard a hand this morning. Answer to your question. These guys are going to be hanging out here afterwards. That concludes our 1 million cups for this week in Tulsa. We'll be back here next week at 9 a.m. So we'll see you guys next week.